very interesting, because this has kind of he's been talking about this kind of off and on for about the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, that there's an epic struggle going on behind the scenes at the highest levels of the federal, what I would call organism, such as it is. And the epic internal battle is on for control of the United States government between what he refers to as the white hats and the black hats. And these are taking place within the ruling security agencies, which together has taken control of the nation since that fateful day, 9/11/2001. On that dark day, various good elements, I'm just reading what he said here, various good elements have formed an alliance built around the Pentagon Joint Chiefs of Staff, together with white hats in various security agencies. Now, like at the Pentagon, he says here, to continue, there are encouraging yet unsettling stories circulating, far more tangible and reliable than simple rumors. Reports are persistent and broad about an intense internal struggle between the Pentagon and the CIA, a war between nefarious security officers and moral, virtuous security officers in a pitched battle for control of the highest levels of the U.S. government. A breaking point in the long-term conflict has surfaced over events surrounding Benghazi at the Libyan embassy. It appears that treason once again is the issue, and dead Navy SEAL soldiers were not tolerated by the white hats at the U.S. military high command. SEALs are elite warriors of the highest skill and tribute. The details are muddy, but it's reported that people working for the CIA and the State Department were not in agreement with soldiers who work for the Pentagon. It is confusing, to be sure. The National Security Agency is the agency that is spying on everybody in the entire world. The focal point hive of black hats. The NSA, in my view, is a monolith with ultimate self-proclaimed power. It has in recent years hogged budget increases and pushed through budget cuts for its rivals. The FBI has been converted into a Gestapo, and in my view might be culpable for numerous national events such as various public, page 2, shootings, school massacres, and recently the Boston Marathon explosions. A clever orchestrated production event. And furthermore, to add to the long list of clever orchestrated production events by the loyalists in the military and the CIA and the FBI. The loyalist term refers to people who are loyal to the organized crime syndicates that are, shall we say, running the federal bureaucracies. A case in point was the CFTC. CFTC closed a 5-year investigation into alleged manipulation of the silver market, and any regulator worth his salt would merely take a mere 10 minutes to identify that silver and gold are manipulated, because it happens every day, and it wouldn't take long. Not only that, a few years ago, Andrew Maguire, the London whistleblower, gave a blow-by-blow account to the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, the regulatory body that's supposed to oversee that we have free and fair markets, and they've done nothing. And they closed that thing without saying anything about the results of their 5-year investigation. And it was pretty obvious right from the get-go that this was just window dressing, and there was never that anything was going to be done in terms of the fraud and corruption that takes place in the commodities exchange where silver and gold is traded. But the fact of the matter is, every market is manipulated. Everyone. It doesn't matter whether it's a treasury market or the stock market or the commodities markets, oil market, wheat. All this stuff is completely and utterly manipulated. The foreign currency market, totally manipulated. You know, they want to make things look good. So that's why they do that. What's it called? The Exchange Stabilization Fund, otherwise known as the Plunge Protection Team, you know, which is only 4 people. Only 4 of them. And so where was I? Oh yeah. This Snowden expose, he, of the National Security Agency, he used to work for the CIA, and he has turned against the black hats, that is the loyalists, you know, who are loyal to the organized crime syndicates that run the federal government, you know, as well as the judiciary, and, you know, and everybody just kowtows to what they tell them, including the Supreme Court. So he thinks, Jim Willey, that he wonders if Snowden migrated to the NSA black hat camp in order to gain access to the back doors for the benefit of the white hat camp. The white hat camp, also called the Constitutionalists, you know, those people that want to restore the Constitution and the rule of law, constitutional law, that is. And this episode, that is the Snowden episode, is an integral part of the internal war within the vast array of U.S. government security agencies, of which over 15 exist. Defense intelligence is the oldest of such security agencies. A battle is on between the dark side of the CIA, with its narcotics business and genocide programs, and the Pentagon, with its devotion to the Constitution and service to the people. The public has largely been forgotten during the blossomed, what he calls fascist business model, in the shadow of the 9/11 events. The National Security Agency colluded with the dark side of the CIA and the dark side of the U.S. military to organize and coordinate the 9/11 incident. And that was pretty obvious to me the very day I was watching the broadcast on TV as the event was taking place. I knew it was an inside job right then and there. I mean, he was plain very clear that it was an inside job. The ongoing question in the jackass mind is where have so many sociopaths and murderers come from, and whether they are born or made. Now, interesting that he says that, because I've been studying karma, Rudolf Steiner's lectures on karma, because I'm going to be giving a lot of talks on the vast ramifications of karma, and this very subject came up. Now you have to remember, he gave these lectures 100 years ago, and this is what he says in terms of the karmic relationships that occur in the lives of human individuals, that if a person in one incarnation lives a life of superficiality and triviality and shall we say, lives in trifles, lives a trifling life, shall we say, superficial and shallow. In their next incarnation, They are born with a propensity for lying. Now, these people are all liars, you know, all the people in Congress, Senate, Federal Reserve, U.S. President, all of them in my life, you know. When I started paying attention to them, which was 1980, Reagan. I mean, I listened to his first speech that he gave after he was elected, and he just flat out lied to the American people. And that was the last inaugural speech I ever watched. So why? Where have all these liars? Why come there are so many of them in positions of high responsibility and power? And not just here in America. I mean, they're all over. They're in England, France, Russia, China, all over the place. What is this? I mean, is this like world karma, that this is the case? That here we are in the early stages of the 21st century, and it seems like every government, at every level of every government, everywhere in the world, we have a bunch of sociopaths and psychopaths running things. No, it certainly seems to, well, it is the case. I mean, it doesn't seem to be. It is. When you consider all the wars and genocide that have taken place in our lifetimes, you know, going from Cambodia to Bosnia to Rwanda, you know, all the civil wars, the religious wars, is all about, you know, run by people who are sociopaths and psychopaths. Vatican, another one, you know, the Pope, Queen of England, just a bunch of sociopaths and psychopaths. And you're just wondering, why? Why is it that the whole world is living up to what Steiner said 100 years ago? It is a bitter truth of our times that the people least qualified are running the affairs of humanity. In other words, the most incompetent, shallow airheads who are selfish, greedy, and vain are running everything. Interesting, huh? Well, it turns out that these liars have a propensity for lying, which comes from deep within their soul. It's just there. It's like a psychological impulse over which they have no control. The propensity for lying. What happens to them in their next incarnation is they have a predisposition for illness. So that in the next incarnation, in order to having to overcome those illnesses, they will then make recompense and heal themselves of the propensity for lying and the propensity for living a superficial, worthless, trivial life. So that then in their next, the fourth incarnation, they will much be more perfect. So it seems like this is a kind of like a plague. We have a plague of psychopaths and sociopaths running the affairs of humanity all over the world. All right. Now, he says, and I don't believe this, okay? I do not believe this. But this is what he says. The Pentagon is the last vestige in the hope for the nation to be restored to integrity and order. General Petraeus was dismissed not for sexual dalliance, but for planning a coup d'etat and military takeover of the White House. Now that I believe. That's why he was dismissed. The CIA benefits from between $800 billion and $1 trillion in illicit narcotics profits per year tied to the